Remember in my last vlog when I mentioned that school was going really well, MSK was going really well? We are now in the brain and behavior block and school is not going well. It has just been a really long day. I just got home. It is dark, as you can probably tell. It is currently 11 p.m. I actually had a really late start to my day. I woke up around 9-ish and did my stretches, did a quick workout, and then, I went to school a little bit late after breakfast and all that. Got to school about 11 o'clock and just started watching lectures. I had a really difficult class. We actually had a session and that was focused on breaking bad news to a patient. And so what that looked like today was, it was a 3-hour session with 2 of our instructors and then a standardized patient. For those of you who don't know, in medical school or other schools where you learn to work with patients, they often have this thing called a standardized patient, which is an actor or someone in the community who has been trained to present as a patient so that you can have experience talking to a patient, interviewing them, and doing physical exams. The way we do it is we are put into our small groups. My small group is composed of 9 people, and today 5 of us volunteered to practice. And I just feel like I botched it. I don't feel good about it. I got some constructive feedback. I feel like interviewing has been one of my stronger suits in all the things I've been doing in medical school, and there's always times when I don't know what to say, so I don't want to give away too much, but in this example, I was going in for a follow-up visit, a supposed follow-up visit with a standardized patient, so it's like a fake scenario. And in this situation, the patient mentioned that they had something sad happen to them recently, and I was so caught up in the medical side of things and worrying about what's bothering the patient directly and not worrying about so much the things that are bothering the patient outside of the medical aspect. And I think I was able to recover toward the end of the practice session and was able to sound respectful and sound good, but I just feel like there is an opportunity for me to expand in terms of connecting with the patient. And I know that the classroom setting and you're doing practice sessions with a standardized patient doesn't necessarily translate to exactly what you would say in a real life situation. I get that, but it was just kind of harsh just because the interview or the face-to-face patient interaction, I always felt like that was one of my stronger suits, and I just don't feel good about my my performance today. So after that 3-hour session, we actually had a specialty night. So that's another thing. So specialty night for our school, that's just a day in the year when they set up different rooms so that medical students So for our school, that just means that it's a day where they set up different rooms that are designed to have a speaker from every different specialty, or as many specialties as possible, talk about how to get into the field. And I participated last year. I got to go and talk to some of the doctors who are in the fields that I'm interested in. I did the same thing this year, and it's just really tough because the focus on our speaker was things that would look good on your resume when you start applying for jobs. And I feel like I'm not quite there compared to some of my peers. I've done some research, but I don't know if it's robust enough, but research is typically a really strong component of your residency application. Your residency is the job you have right after medical school typically, and it gets more and more competitive like every year. And on top of your grades and on top of your test scores, your research experiences, community service experiences are a big component. I just feel like I haven't done enough compared to some of my peers. Like just today, I had a bunch of people talking about them having to finish manuscripts by next week, and they're applying to presentations. And I was involved in a lot of research this past summer and earlier in the semester, but I took a step back so I could focus on school for a bit, and just feels like I'm struggling to balance a lot of things. And I recognize sometimes you do have to stop doing certain things so you can focus on school, just because not everybody's perfect. And it's just tough because, I feel like I'm doing a lot right now, and I feel like I'm supposed to be doing more, and I don't know if I can physically do more. I know I'm supposed to stay in my own lane, do what I need to do to get things done, but I guess it's just been really stressful because now I'm in my second year of medical school, and we're starting to have to really think about what specialty we want to go into and whether or not we are preparing our applications appropriately for the specialties that we want to go into. That being said, another component of our residency application is our Step 1 and Step 2 tests. Nowadays, Step 1 is pass-fail. Step 2 is still graded, but Step 2 is a little further down the road. I'm not going to worry about that right now. What's coming up is in about 6 months from now, I'm going to have to take Step 1, and although it is pass-fail, I still have to pass it. And not only just passing it, I feel like I want to study for it and do really well and just have that knowledge base, because right after Step 1 is when I start my clerkships. That is when I start to go into the hospitals and the clinics and actually put myself into the work field. And obviously I don't want to go into the hospitals and the wards and going into my clerkships and feeling like I don't know what's going on. Like, I want to avoid that so much. Like, I know I'm not going to be perfect. I know I can't have knowledge of everything just going in. Like, I'm obviously not a doctor yet, that's why I'm in school, but I do want to feel prepared to learn as much as I can while I'm in the clerkship, and I'm trying to build my foundation of medical science and medical knowledge right now. And gosh darn it, it is a lot of information that we are packing into our brains. So anyway, after specialty night, I went to the library and I just kept studying, catching up on a few lectures I'm behind on. And yeah, it's just been a little difficult this past week. I told myself I wouldn't get behind on lectures anymore, but here I am. I'm still behind on a few lectures, but I am trying to incorporate going back to class, especially since I've been interested in the brain sciences since college, and now we're in the brain behavior section, and I'm a lot more interested in the topics than I was in some of the previous sections. I will tell people time and time again, the I3 unit, which is our infections, immunology, and inflammation block, was not the most interesting for me. I felt like it was really abstract, a lot of moving pieces, and you can't really see where things go. But when it comes to neuroanatomy and things that you see in clinic, it just feels a little bit more concrete. You see really distinctive signs and symptoms, at least like right now. And if you know which blood vessel in the brain gets blocked, you can kind of guess what the symptoms are going to be. Like, it just makes a little bit more sense. And going to lecture, I've been more engaged than I have been in some of my previous classes, and I really appreciated that. But I'm here, and I came here for a reason. I came here to get things done. I am not a quitter. I know it's really difficult right now, and I'm really just venting. And I feel like I'm not saying anything that other med students aren't feeling. Like, even the ones who are feeling really prepared, the ones who are acing all their exams, the ones that are doing all the research, I know that they're also going through these same struggles, feeling like they're not working on enough, feeling like they're not doing enough, feeling like there's more ways to prepare, feeling like they're unprepared for the future, feeling that uncertainty of how difficult is the STEP exam going to be, how difficult it's going to be to secure a residency job after we graduate. These are all things that all of us med students are facing, and I knew that going into medical school was going to be difficult, but you know what? Life is difficult either way. I knew that being a doctor in the future was going to be difficult, but life is going to be difficult either way. And if I were to choose doing this and facing other difficulties in my life, I would pick this time and time again, because like I mentioned, it's really difficult. I wish I felt more prepared, but I wish that I could feel prepared because I want to go into the hospitals and I want to help people. Like, I really can't imagine a career where I'm not directly helping people. And I mentioned that I didn't really do well in my practice session with the standardized patient today, but you know what? Working with patients is why I wanted to do this. Back when I was in college, shadowing doctors and meeting patients has instilled within me a desire to work face-to-face with patients. During my gap years when I was doing clinical research and I was actually interviewing patients in a research setting, not clinical, but in a research setting, talking to patients and having that interaction, that's something I want to continue having. Now that I'm in med school, I can do that, but like I want to build as many skills as possible, build my knowledge as best as possible so that in the future I can take those skills and really just do the best that I can. Right now, I feel like I'm doing the best that I can, and I feel like it's not enough, but I know that I'm gonna get there eventually. I know that things don't get easier, but you get better, and that's what I'm looking forward to, finding the better version of myself. Anyway, thanks for listening to me rant for a little bit. It's just been a really difficult week, but tomorrow is Friday, and it's still going to be really difficult, but there's a little bit of solace tomorrow. There's a few birthdays in my class, and so they've decided to just kind of like combine their birthdays for like a group thing, and so it'll be nice to see my friends out and be in a social situation where I'm not in the books. But that's gonna be later in the evening. Before then, my goal tomorrow is to wake up closer to 7. I know I woke up at 9 today, but tomorrow I want to wake up at 7, get to class by 8, and be in school for the entire day. Try to catch up on as many things as I can, learn as much as I can. Yeah, so hopefully I'll see you guys tomorrow, and hopefully we can celebrate all the hard work that we've been doing this week. It's 7:30. So I try to start my mornings early with a stretch if I have time, and sometimes a quick workout, but I was running a little late today, and I really wanted to get to the library, so I ran to the bathroom. My dentist recently prescribed that I start using an electric toothbrush, which I guess is all the rage these days, and I'm not understanding really how it works. I'm still trying to figure it out. When I turn it on, it just like shoots the toothpaste off the toothbrush. I don't know. But eventually I get dressed and I head downstairs and I pick up a breakfast sandwich from a local restaurant just to grab like a breakfast sandwich, and I think I also have a muffin in there. Anyway, I make my way to the study lounge and I find myself a quick spot to settle down, set up camp, and get ready to catch up on some lectures. After tossing my bag aggressively onto the seat, I open my laptop and I pull out my laptop and my iPad. I'm going through a thalamus lecture. I'm learning a lot of neuroanatomy, or brain anatomy rather, learning about how the thalamus is kind of like a relay station for all the signals in the brain. I downloaded Video Speed Controller, which allows me to actually increase the speed of the videos that I watch, and now I can speed through the lectures. Sometimes I go up to like 2.7 times speed, but that's a bit much for most cases. So now I'm cruising through lectures. I think I'm doing a physiology lecture now. I have a cup of coffee while I'm doing Anki. I'm drinking decaf these days. But I am trying to read the questions before I immediately hit the space bar. It's a little difficult to not reflexively just smash the space bar. But I typically do try to follow up a lecture immediately with the Anki cards for that corresponding lecture, but I quickly realize that it's about time for class, so I walk into the lecture hall and I am intently listening and definitely not on my phone during my lectures. I eventually moved my way into the library where I found a little cubicle, and I am studying next to my buddy, and I decided to disturb him a little bit. Yep, that's how we do it. I am now performatively setting up my camera so you guys can see what I'm up to in my cubicle. I am literally just shifting things around to make my space more comfortable for myself, and I obviously need to plug in my stuff and untangle all of my wires so that I can stay charged up. I quickly noticed that I've made a huge mess at the bottom of the desk where I have just thrown randomly a bunch of paper towels, so I figure I should probably clean that. It is now immediately apparent that all of my years playing beer pong in college have taken me nowhere. I take a few seconds to remind myself why I went into medicine, and then I open my laptop back up and open my iPad back up and start doing lectures again. I stand up, get the blood flowing, because I don't know, that's what you're supposed to do to prevent DVTs or something. And eventually we all finished studying at the library, and I end up getting dinner with one of my classmates because, like I mentioned, we're going to a birthday party after this, and one of the people doesn't eat gluten. So anyway, we finish up our meal, we head home, we get dressed, and then we meet up for sort of a pregame. Not really a pregame because I wasn't really drinking. But here I am on some rooftop in DC, checking out views of the Francis Scott Key Bridge over the Georgetown waterfront. After sort of reviewing this footage on my own, after seeing how stressed I was at the beginning of this vlog that Thursday night, and seeing how happy I really am at the end of a really long study week, after seeing how being around people that I care about, seeing how I'm surrounded by really brilliant people just like me who at the end of the day just also need to relax and have a good time. I think if you need something in med school, it's to surround yourself with good people because they'll keep you going. Anyway, I have completely run out of footage, so I'm going to end my vlog there, mostly because I'm out of footage, but also because I need to go to sleep early. Thank you guys for listening to me vent and really spending the time with me and seeing what medical school is like and seeing what keeps me going and seeing what kind of brings me down sometimes. Anyway, thanks again for joining. Signing off, this is Tony Chang, MS2.